What up, YouTube? This is your boy Gary Lamb, bringing relevant content on life for you in the pursuit of happiness, wealthiness, and healthiness. I'm going to say all three because that's what I want out of my life. We are going to go ahead and talk about a few things in this premiere, and we're going to also go live soon after this to talk more about a mother who was in jail because she kept her child out of school. What do they call that?
They called it truancy,
Truancy.
where parents don't send their children to school for whatever the circumstance, whatever the reason is,
Hmm.
and the kids are out of school for a certain amount of time that is past the allotted time for the Board of Education for the district.
Yeah.
Then they report the parents. And this particular mother was brought up on charges for truancy by Kamala Harris when she was a lawyer, when she was an attorney, and it is resurfacing again
Hmm.
because of what she's doing right now in the administration. So it's happening again.
Well, we're going to go into all that. But first, let's start off with our very own Congress and let's see if hush money is considered a campaign expense.
Oh boy.
Because the last time I checked, I thought hush money was extortion, but I could be wrong.
I
So
don't think you're wrong.
let's just get into it.
Gentleman yields back. Gentleman from Kentucky is recognized.
Thank you, Chairman Jordan. This is amazing construction of some kind of crime here, but when we dig down to the bottom of it and try to find out what the underlying crime is, I don't think that's been discussed enough, or what the supposed underlying crime is. One of the propositions was that hush money should be reported as a campaign finance expense. Okay, if somebody pays their attorney to seal divorce records because they may be going to run for office or they are running for office, Mr. Traynor, is that a campaign finance expense? Is that something you see on campaign finance reports?
That is not. It is something that you would see. Legal fees are often reported, and it has been the tradition at the commission in looking at those legal fees that we don't question what the attorney-client privilege between the candidates and the lawyer are of what's needed in those particular circumstances.
So let me use another example. In 1999, Bill and Hillary Clinton bought a house in New York, obviously influenced the election of the Senate race there in New York because they moved into the house so that she could run for Senate. Is that a campaign finance expense? Is everything that could influence a campaign finance expense?
Well, under Mr. Bragg's interpretation, it would be, but under normal campaign finance law, it would not be. There are distinct similarities here between the John Edwards prosecution in 2008, where he paid over $1 million to his mistress to keep her quiet, and was prosecuted by the Department of Justice for that, and was ultimately acquitted on one count and had a mistrial on all 5 counts. Because the jury was given a correct charge as to what the federal law was.
Now, let's look into the John Edwards case real quick, because I think many people don't know what this case was all about. So let's just go ahead and get into this one. How Trump hush money case compares with the John Edwards indictment. Wow. So they're trying to compare the two. So go ahead and read this, sweetheart.
Okay. With a grand jury weighing possible charges against former President Donald Trump, the case is drawing comparisons to the indictment of a rising Democratic star over a decade ago that also involved hush money accusations. In 2011, John Edwards, a former senator from North Carolina and two-time presidential candidate, was charged in an alleged plot to violate campaign finance laws during his 2008 bid for the White House. Federal prosecutors accused Edwards of soliciting nearly $1 million from wealthy donors to hide his affair with his videographer, Rael Hunter, goodness, their names out, and that he was the father of their baby to prevent damage to his reputation as a family man during the campaign.
Stop right there.
What?
This is an ongoing thing. This is a reoccurring thing when it comes down to men in these positions falling short to their flesh when it comes down to it. But they can't fall short to their flesh if they didn't have someone that was willing to fall with them.
Right.
And it takes two. And this is the reason why I'm hounding on women all the time, because it's like women want to be like, you know, what's the word? They want to be dismissed from it. Like we focus on the man part, right? But she knew he was married.
Yes. Yes. Don't get me started on the what do you call that? The side piece mentality and all of that mess. Listen, at the end of the day, and I've said this before, we all have a past. All of us, y'all watching us too,
Yes,
we all
yes,
have
we
a
have a
past.
past. Yes.
Trump has a past. Everybody has a past, and at some point, you know, you have to decide to put away those things.
Yeah.
And when it comes to this, and we were talking about this yesterday, you know, yeah, it gets annoying. I'm your wife, I'm his wife, and he talks about harps on women a lot. It gets annoying, it's an obnoxious topic, it's frustrating, and all of those things. But at the end of the day, the woman of today, if this was not an issue, we wouldn't have to talk about it.
And this is the reason why I constantly harp on women.
Wouldn't have to.
Because in the 80s, when they were getting on men heavily with freaking Oprah Winfrey, Geraldo, Ricky Lake, Montel, everybody was getting on men heavily, right? The only one that was actually trying to shine a light on women was Jerry Springer. And what's the other guy? What is the other guy? Yeah, rest in peace.
Another guy?
The other guy, you are not the father. Who was him?
Oh, he's in New York. Oh, with the hair. He's just sitting in his chair. Man. Y'all know who he is.
But you can't tell me you went on the show 4 or 5 times and you still don't know who the baby daddy is. Right. But we're not going to shine the light on women at all. No, we want to shine the light on women, because now we're realizing that it's not all the men's fault doing these things. These women out here are extorting money. Like this is a thing for women. So when I hear Kamala, not trying to put this on Kamala at all, but she does represent that type of woman. Okay. When I hear women saying we're not going back to what?
That's the issue.
What are you not going back to? You know, are you talking about the kitchen? Are you talking about having to have relations with men that you weren't interested in, being submissive to, you know, being subordinate? Like, what are you not going back to? What are you hiding that I want that the American people should know?
Yeah, I think I was looking for that darn show because now it's bothering me. I need to remember what it was. But when it comes to this topic of not going back, I was looking, and I know we're not talking about abortion and stuff like that, but it's just the mentality. The issue here is, like we always say, is a reverend that we've known years ago, amazing revelation he had about what you want to do.
Yeah.
This is like the time of do what you want to do. Nobody can tell you nothing. He would say, my right to my claim to myself.
Yes.
That's your sin. That's your preference of sin.
Yes.
And I was saying, I was looking at social media. When you're a watcher, you got to watch and look and see what's going on and stuff. Try to help protect and speak on topics and stuff. So anyway, it was a platform, one channel, whatever. And there was this conversation about Georgia and how the abortion went from a few weeks
to now 20,
to now 22 weeks.
Yes.
And literally there's these two sides. It's so clear. These Maury Povich. Yeah. I didn't find it. I'm looking at it.
But it came to you. It hit you.
But
it hit you. Maury. Yep. It's Maury.
Darn thing. It was Maury Povich. Maury. Yeah. So anyway, and you see these women fighting. Literally, there's some that are like, listen, you know, come on, like that's what you taking that baby's life. No, we can't say it.
No, you can say it. We're not listening.
Oh, okay.
I'm this channel is freedom of speech, basically. Yes, I'm trying to keep my monetization. Of course, I want to keep my monetization. I don't want to lose it. But there are some things that when it comes down to life, I have to fight and I have to talk out against it, because nobody has these babies don't have a voice. They don't get to say no. You know what I'm saying? A woman gets to say no or yes to hush money or whatever, but these babies don't get to say no. And it's it boggles my mind to see so many women yell and scream about their choice, their right, their voice, and then turn right around and take away the rights of a unborn baby simply because it's in her body. Well, it wouldn't be in her body if you didn't take the man's seed and begin with. So it's like these are the things that really irritates me. So my question to a lot of these progressive women is, are you doing this to your advantage? Because you can't 600 to 800,000 abortions a
How do you
year.
explain it? How do you
How do you
explain that?
explain that? You mean to tell me you slipped up on a penis every 600 times, 600,000 times? Like, that's insane. So it's got to be something there that we don't understand, right? What is it? Is there? And a lot of people might say, Gary, you're reaching. This man paid $1 million to his mistress to keep her mouth shut. Why did he have to pay her anything?
Why was she even there? But
She
they're talking-
knew he was married. She knew. So whatever happened, she got mad, she got frustrated, or she got offended, or she felt some type of way, and now he has to pay her to keep her silent. Now, again, I'm not taking anything out off the man. That's
No.
not what I'm saying.
No.
What I'm saying is that you decide to change your mind and you expose this man, and you still got the money, and the information is still out here. So not only did she get the money, she still ruined his reputation. Like, what?
Yeah, and that I was saying about the abortion, the women are saying there's some women that are saying no, girl, like that's murder. Come on, and then many women are like I'm not gonna do that to my baby. That's murder. That's a grown baby. People have children they give birth to the child weeks less than that.
Yeah.
Micro preemies, and they have to stand in NICU for months and months. So come on, like, and then you have another group of women that are saying, well, that's you and that's your situation. Mind your womb.
Yeah.
You know, this
That's
is your
crazy.
this mind your womb. So you have this nonsense going on, and I believe that a lot of those, like you said, progressive women, the women of today, you know, back in the 90s or the 80s, really, you gotta have JLB if you want to be nothing going on but the rent. All of that.
And here's the thing, I was with those songs. I was like, you're right.
Yes. But it's like at some point there has to be a line drawn, because a little bit, this is what happens. Well, you know, we got to give rights. And yes, we deserve rights. We've had conversations about it. There's videos up about it of us talking about that. Yes, we are human beings. Why should we be any less than? And even though the Bible does say that the woman is the lesser of the two.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, there's a reason why, because a lot of what we have and what we're dealing with now has all been based on your feelings. It's emotion.
Talk
so
about
do
it.
I want anybody that is a female, and I'm saying it, she's the wrong one, but do I really want a woman in that seat? Do I? Because I want someone that's going to, and I'm speaking this as a wife, a mom, and very much so a natural born woman. But we have that innate ability and that grace. We're emotional in that way for a reason. We feel and we sense things differently than men. And sometimes it's to our detriment. I want someone that's going to sit in the seat, make a realistic, logical decision, not based off of emotion. And so when I'm looking at the Kamala Harris campaign and their side, what are you saying you're not going back to? What is it that you're not going back to? America was a prominent powerhouse in one phase of this country in this time. In times America had a glory that we're trying, many, and I say we, many are really desperately want that back.
Yeah.
So get out your feelings.
Well, I'm gonna reserve my commentary to the end of the video, but I'll put the link in this description for your convenience. But
his wife was she had an illness.
Yeah,
I mean, all these different things.
but that's not the point.
No.
That's the point is that he actually had to come out of pocket, and he
Mhm.
claims that I said this, he claims that he did this because it wasn't that he was trying to hide it from the voters, and I agree with that. I believe that,
Yeah.
because a lot of people might say, well, he was trying to hide it from the voters, and I'm like, no, I don't think you understand. He was trying to hide it from his wife, and I believe that. We don't know these people's relationship.
No,
We don't know what they talk about. We don't even know if his wife knew.
we don't even know.
We don't know
We don't
anything.
know.
But what we do know
Our business, we don't
is
know.
that this woman had to be paid to be quiet, and it still got out.
Mhm.
Okay. And we're going to continue watching this video because there's a lot more to be.
In this particular case, the jury was given an incorrect jury charge as to what the law is, and they come out with a completely opposite ruling.
I asked my campaign finance treasurer if I could pay my wife $10,000. She's got more dirt on me than anybody else. And then report that as a campaign finance expense. And he's very fastidious. He manages the finances of at least a dozen different campaigns. And he looked at me like I was crazy. Yet, isn't that sort of the same theory that Alvin Bragg had here? That something like that could be reported as a campaign finance expense?
It's very similar to what's happened here.
So, Congress has paid over $17 million in hush money for sexual misconduct inside of the offices in these buildings.
That's a lot of nookie. A lot of nookie. That is a lot of. I thought prostitution was illegal, so they decided to call it something else. And now the taxpayer is paying for it.
My issue, yeah. How
Oh
that come
my
out of my
God.
check?
And then you wonder why so many people say, yo, these women are sleeping them ways to their way to the top. You hear this all the time, and you like, no, it can't be. All of them can't be. $17 million of hush money. $17 million of hush money. That sounds a lot like sleeping your way to the top. All right, because it start off just a fling. It start off that I'm really into you. You're fascinating. You're so debonair. You know, your wife don't treat you like she should. Your wife don't treat you right. And these men, they fall for it, stroke their ego 3 months later, 4 months later, because they don't have to. They can take their time and wear you down. Take their time. And then when they wear you down and you catch you in the weakest moment, you had a real bad fight with your wife. Your son had a accident, and now he's getting a DUI, and somebody lost their leg behind it, and then she comes rubbing your shoulders, and boom, $17 million later. So it's like this is the kind of stuff, like these office escapades has been going on forever. This is nothing new. It's going on in Congress as well. And now we're finding out we're the ones paying the
I was just
freaking
about to say that's coming from our money.
that we're the one it's a campaign expense now. Huh?
What's more is that was taxpayer money, right?
See?
The allegation is that President Trump paid $130,000 of his own money.
Own money.
But here in Congress, there may be some on this dais. I mean, I'm for turning loose all of these records.
Well, he said,
Who
I'm
in
for
here
it.
has had
Yo, I bet you people like,
Right?
I ain't with you like that.
They ain't tell me they was gonna talk about this up here today.
Get something on him. Get something on him.
This is crazy.
But this is the reason why we're going through this, right? Because we are starting to unravel. We're starting to pull. You all right? You sure?
Yeah. Yes.
I lost my train of thought. Yeah, we're starting to unravel all these conspiracies, starting to turn out that they're not conspiracies at all.
Right.
A lot of these untruths are turning out to be truths. The misinformation that we were fighting is not the information that they said was on our end, the MAGA end, but was actually on the government end. We're finding all this stuff out, and on top of that, we got a little hanky-panky going around in Congress to such a degree that they actually got to call it campaign expense.
Oh, they had to put a name to it.
So when
A category.
So when Kamala talks about hidden fees, these are hidden fees. You understand? When Trump says there's a lot of bloat in our government, One of them is this $17 million for a little hanky panky. And who's going to hide this stuff? Who's going to hide this stuff? The security guards, the ones that surround them all the time, the ones who actually knows who's doing who. You know what I mean? CIA, FBI, all those people, all those agents that we claim are on our side, which is really we starting to realize aren't. I mean, there's so much stuff going out, guys, and it's ridiculous. But this is the swamp that we're trying to clean out, right? But let's continue. You got anything you want to add, or
I was just I don't watch it anymore at all. Years ago, just certain things just I don't. For my own diet and discipline, I don't watch any of that stuff. I watch old shows and stuff. But that all of what you were saying, you said there's people that's there and they know who's zooming who basically. And I thought about that series Scandal.
yeah,
And it was like Olivia Pope and all the rest of them just turned their head. They knew what was going on, and I'm PO'd, honestly, because there was someone, and we're still under investigation, and it's been 4 years, who stole my identity.
yeah,
And
yep,
in the worst time that we were going through, and I was living at my mother-in-law's house, okay?
yeah,
At the time when whoever this person is took almost $19,000 of unemployment money, and we investigated it to the nth degree. We had not the Supreme Court, but we had the courts here in Oklahoma when we got here, and thankfully it all was unfounded, and it came out that it was someone that stole my identity, because we didn't see a penny of it.
no, we didn't.
We were technically on paper homeless at the time. We did not have our own place. And so to know that it has something to do with what is called corruption, unsubstantiated funds, and all of this stuff that happened since COVID, all these funds that went out and stuff, and people were, ravished, their businesses, everything gone, lives.
And these are people
gone.
who cross their T's and dot their I's.
We've been married this coming year 20 years in 2025. Not one issue ever. Not one. We always, my husband's like, we ain't riding dirty. Everything's right.
Report that.
And so we were like, what's this? What's going on? We were dumbfounded because we've never had an issue. And we went through all of our years of taxes, everything. I brought out files online, and the tax consultant, and then going with the lawyers and the paralegals and the attorneys and everything. And they're like, Miss Lamb, I'm so sorry that this happened to you around that time frame. It happened to millions, is what we were told.
Yes.
So I'm PO'd about that.
Yes. And there's so much business that I need to take care of, but financially, I just can't get to it. Like, I have a business in New Jersey that I have to have dissolved, but I don't have the money to have it dissolved. It's going to cost $100 to get that dissolved, and I don't have the money to do so. And now they're saying they're going to charge $500 a day and all of this. It's enough. So what I'm saying is that we did our due diligence to learn this law, and now we're finding out that there's so much more to the game than we ever thought.
So messy.
And we still looking for the person who got that 18 grand.
Yes,
we're still looking for that person. But again, it takes time, it takes money, and all this other stuff, and we just don't have it right now. But we're going to get to it. Let's get back to this.
The taxpayer pay for their sexual misconduct charges, the hush money. I bet there's some over there. There may be some over here. I don't know, but I do know it's taxpayer money, and I do know not a single penny of it has been turned in as a campaign finance expense. Is the FEC going to investigate the $17 million that the Congress has paid to settle, behind closed doors these sexual misconduct allegations?
Congressman, if a complaint were to come to us about it, I'm sure it would be thoroughly investigated.
I might file one because it seems like anybody could do this. But let me just ask this: is this verdict going to be vacated, Attorney General Bailey? What do you think?
It absolutely should be.
On what grounds?
numerous grounds. I think the 5 grounds I laid out in my opening statement provide sufficient justification to undermine the credibility of the conviction. I think there are additional grounds as well, but I think that the constitutional violations, the due process violation, the jury unanimity, Sixth Amendment problem alone, the gag order is violative of the First Amendment. I mean, the prosecutorial misconduct, the conviction is replete with legal error.
Ms. Foley, do you think this is going to be vacated, this verdict?
I do, and I think eventually it's going to be reversed based on legal grounds rather than mixed questions of fact and law. So some of the evidentiary issues, some of the bias issues, I think they're more difficult to win on appeal because the appellate courts owe deference on these evidentiary determinations of trial judges. Bias is very difficult to win on appeal because the judge has so much latitude in deciding whether to recuse himself. That's why the due process errors are so critical here, because obviously due process errors are questions of law. They get de novo standard of appellate review. The appellate courts owe absolutely no deference whatsoever.
So the irony here is this is going to be vacated, and this trial was all about trying to influence an election, using the process as the punishment. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to submit for the record 3 documents. One is entitled FEC Drops Investigation into Trump Hush Payments. This is from 3 years ago. I'd like to introduce a document. Congress has paid $17 million in sexual misconduct and discrimination settlements. This was in Axios in 2017. And my third and final document I'd like to introduce is from CNN. Congress paid out $17 million in settlements. Here's why we know so little about that money. Thank you. I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. Gentleman from Kentucky.
Mr. Chairman, I have a unanimous consent request. Ask unanimous consent to submit for the record an article in Open Secrets that says that Ambassador Eisen bundled between $200,000 and $500,000 to the Obama campaign. Sounds like he's an ambassador, not an ambassador. So,
Without objection.
Without objection.
I gotta look into that. We gotta look into that.
Uh-huh.
But your thoughts as a woman voter. Now I know we normally don't do this, and not be honest with you, we don't really like doing this whole thing. But I do think that the whole as a woman thing, because I
know
guess
you were trying to make a point about
yeah.
because you don't talk like that.
Well,
not to me.
you know why I hate when women do that. As a woman, I can't stand that, because that's basically a woman saying that no matter what comes out of my mouth, you can't dispute it. Once she says that, that's what she means. And once a woman say that, I start going one Mississippi, 2 Mississippi. I stop listening, because there's not really much I can add to that, because she first of all, she thinks that's a safeguard to be able to say what she want to say without being corrected. And I know if I open my mouth, I'm gonna throw all kinds of corrections her way, and next thing I know, I have problems because I said something to the wrong person. So I just say, oh yeah, and just let her have her way. But it's coming to a time where we can't do that. We're gonna have to tell the truth and pretty much flip these people on top of their head and say, no, you can't get away with that anymore, because my daughter's seeing that, and I don't want her to use the same tactics as if it's going to work with the future generation men, because it's not. It works with us, but it's not going to work with our sons, right? Most men are still bound to today's climate. But tomorrow climate, those boys are growing up. I'm raising my sons to not be bound by today's climate. All right. I'm raising my boys to set their own climate. So they will sit there and tell you you're out of your mind, which is good. Okay. But as a woman hearing this, what are your thoughts?
I think it's ridiculous. I mean, I pretty much shared my heart about it, my thoughts about it. I know we worked hard. I worked really hard. And laid down my life for my family and for, my purpose. I mean, as a woman, as a wife, I wouldn't be up here. I wouldn't. You would have never seen my face ever.
Yeah.
You would have continued to see It's handsome, Mr. Gary
Pause.
Lamb.
Time. Stop. You want to see my face
What
either?
I'm saying is because you already had the channel and all of these things for years. People like, oh my gosh, these, keyboard warriors that show up out of nowhere. Not that I care about subscriber. I'm not into that kind of stuff, but it's always the ones that have like one subscriber or none that have everything to say on somebody else's channel that's already been
It's a ghost
established.
account.
And you running your mouth and all of that, but you would have never seen me.
Yeah.
But I realize that there is a generation of women who don't agree with the women of today.
Yes.
I'm not the only one. There's many. And so, it's an all hands on deck time. It can't be, well, rah, rah, girl, you tell them and all of that. We have to band together. And so I had to come out from, the shadows and open up my mouth, my big mouth, and allow there to be another voice, because not all women agree with Harris. Not all women agree with that mess. We're not going back. No, we need to go back.
Now, what is go back to looks like to you?
It looks like I can turn on the television and not have to cover my kid's face and eyes and ears because I have no idea what garbage is going to be shown. It looks like I can send them to school with, now I'm going to always pray. I pray for every day for them, always have, but I don't have to be as concerned about what literature they're, reading, what they're being exposed to, because there was a time when you actually could send your kids to school and not worry about something being taught to your kids that you told them no to. But not the children administration, but for some reason, somehow they got exposed to it. And so there was a time that it wasn't that way. They used to stand up. We used to stand up in the school and pledge allegiance to the flag. There was a time where there was prayer in school and they used to pray at the school. Our parents in the years before and baby boomers, there was a time where this country, it was a time when we were proud to be Americans, and many are not anymore. That to me is sad. I want to go back to that.
Yeah.
I want to go back to a time where you could go grocery shopping without having to make life decisions.
Yeah.
I want to go back to that, where it was safe, where I didn't have to worry about who's this that just moved in next door down the street. Who are you? Where'd you come from? And wonder for our families and our neighbors' safety. I mean, the list goes on, and all of this has been happening. It's been brewing little by little, and that's what happens.
Yeah.
Little by little, it's okay, and a little bit of this, and now we have what we're dealing with today. So I want to go back to those times. I'm PO'd about the corruption, and it's happened across this country. The machine, whoever the powers that be are, the puppet master, have a problem with all of that. So yeah, that's how I feel about it.
And for me, I have an issue with it simply because it is all flat out sexual perversion, in my opinion. Married men should not be having sex with women outside of their marriage. Period. But there's women out there that will pursue men like this.
That's their career.
And when you don't realize, or if you don't open your eyes to the seduction, the Bible talks about it all the time. I know a lot of people do not want to hear about the Bible. I know y'all don't like that, but just open up the book and you'll see for yourself. All right.
Living it.
Here's a book that is over 1,600 years old, sold billions and billions of copies. Is the only book that's constantly being remastered, restructured, reprinted, resold across the board. It's one of the most, if not the most sold book we've ever seen. And it's because it keeps telling you history rhymes. If you look into the book, if you look into it, it will tell you about women like this. Stay away from wayward women. Be careful of wayward women, because these women will smile and they will play and they will prop and they'll just, but you deserve the best. And the next thing you know, you stuck in this hush money scandal, trying to keep the information from your sick wife. And now your campaign is ruined because of this woman that you just had to have, right? So I submit that men start getting a handle on their libido and realize you ain't the cat's meow. You just got money and status. Okay, let's continue. So this one is Representative Thomas Massey questioning the attorney, the what is his name? What how you the Inspector General about January 6th. And the information that he gives us in this 6-minute clip is so informative. Oh my God. It is so informative. Are you ready to hear, gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen? Are you ready to hear the information we're about to get out of Inspector General Horowitz? Are you ready? Let's go. I'm ready. I'm so excited. Oh, I'm so excited. Let's go.
The lady gentleman from Kentucky is recognized.
I thank the chairman. Inspector General Horowitz, over the past 3 years, I've questioned FBI Director Wray and Attorney General Merrick Garland about the federal assets, such as confidential human sources that were present on January 6th at the Capitol. And they have continuously stonewalled me. We've got no answers whatsoever about this from them. Now, you announced that you were going to do a review of the DOJ response and preparation, mainly preparation, I think, for January 6th. When did you start that review? When did you announce that review?
We announced it in 2021, but we ended up pausing it because of the ongoing criminal cases consistent with how we perform our work. We reinitiated it last year, and I'm in the process of reviewing a draft of the report.
So 3.5 years ago, it was announced that you'd be doing this review, and we still don't have the review, do we?
No, as I said, the reason is we paused the review because of the ongoing criminal work that would, consistent with our practice, we don't interfere with ongoing criminal investigations.
So, but now that you've restarted it, do you have evidence of the number of confidential human sources that were operating on the Capitol grounds on January 6th?
Our report will include the information in that regard.
Can you tell us today how many there were? Were there more than 100?
I'm not in a position to say that, both because it's in draft form and we have not gone through the classification review. And so I need to be careful on what I say.
So we're 4 years in. The reason to do these reports, I think, is so we don't make this, if there were any mistakes, not to make the same mistakes again, but we are just weeks away from the inauguration. We're 4 years, almost 4 years into this report.
Right.
When is it going to be released?
It's certainly my hope and expectation, although I don't control this entirely because it has to go through a classification review, but certainly in the next couple of months is my hope.
Do you think, is there any consideration for the election about the release of this report? Would you delay it in order to not release it right before the election?
At this point, given the process that has to play out in terms of classification review and all of that, I'm not making any, I don't have to make any judgment about that. We're still, that still has to go on. Just to give you a sense of it, when I did the Pfizer review,
you're saying it's not even going to be done in time for before the election?
It doesn't, I doubt it would be done in time for the election.
Is it going to be done before the inauguration?
That is certainly my hope. And my
It's your hope. We're 4 years into it, and we know what we do know is you're going to expose that there were confidential human sources at the Capitol. Can you tell us today how many went into the Capitol?
I'll have that information in the report. I'm not able to speak to information in there, both because it's in draft and we get a response from the department and the FBI,
Okay.
but also because I don't know yet what's classified and not classified.
So if they broke the law, if they went into the Capitol, which we pretty much know there were confidential human sources who went into the Capitol and right there alongside of everybody else, wouldn't they need to follow DOJ CHS protocols? And do you know if those were followed?
They should follow CHS protocols, and again, we'll include that information in the report.
Do you know how many were reimbursed for travel?
As I sit here, I don't recall the number.
You
But I
don't
wouldn't
recall, or you won't tell us?
Well, and if I did know it, I wouldn't be in a position to tell you because we still have to go through.
We're 4 years
actual
into this.
accuracy
You're
Look, the lady behind him was like,
be
what?
the organization that goes and gets these answers when the FBI
Right.
and the DOJ stonewall Congress.
your
But I feel
job.
like, we're 4 years into this. We're not even going to get this information you're telling us now before the election, and maybe not even before the next inauguration. How would we make any corrections or without that information? I want to move on to something else. We've got FBI's failed investigation of the January 6th pipe bomb. Are you looking into that at all?
We've had discussion, I know, Congressman, about it, and we have
We
followed
talked
up,
about
and
it.
I
Yeah,
can
we
speak
talked
to you
about it.
that.
It's not that big of a deal, though. We mentioned it.
They've
Yeah.
got no leads, no suspects.
Nothing.
They've lost information. They've lost evidence. They can't find evidence. Secret Service deleted all of its texts on January 6th. Steve D'Antuono, the guy in charge of Washington, D.C. field office, says that the cell phone data that could have been used to find the bomber was corrupted. And now we just I found out from another inspector general, and I want to submit this for the record.
Without objection.
Yeah, I asked him, do you have the footage, the video footage? Does the FBI have the video footage of the DNC on January 6th? And he tells me when he asked the FBI for the video footage, they don't even have video footage of the DNC that we know was created on January 6th. It's almost as if they don't want to know. Can you rule out that there were any confidential human sources involved in the whole pipe bomb thing on January 6th?
I'd have to go back, Congressman, and refresh myself on what information we've gathered to date on that. I don't know as I sit here.
Okay, that would be a
don't
huge
recall.
revelation.
But I'm
and
happy to come.
I think we should get that and get it public before the election. I yield back.
Gentleman is back. I'm just struck by the irony, the fact that the very email that they went after Mr. Allen about was on this subject, and we're not going to get an answer to it until after the election, potentially after the inauguration. I find the irony astounding. And it's not Mr. Horowitz's fault. It's the folks of the Justice Department who are taking their time with this report.
Oh, yeah.
So it's not his fault, but he's the representative that they sent that day. So we want you to go there with that suit on. Just sit there with yourself, your face, and your pen. Just tell them we don't know, and I don't
Sit
know.
there and look cute and just say, I don't know.
We don't know.
We don't have information. We can't help you. And the footage that I think they're talking about is right here. We're going to go ahead and watch this real quick. As a matter of fact, we can watch it right now. There's no need to have the song going. But as you can see, there's a security guard right here. Security guard taps the guy on his back. See, police, security guard, Trump people. They were selling these hats like crazy, like hotcakes. I was actually there. So I didn't buy a hat because I was broke, but I would have. Huh? Oh, I'm sorry. But you can see that there's a Trump hat here. You see the security guard touching the other security guard. There's another security guard here. These individuals do not look like they're trying to force themselves into this place at all. But let's go ahead and watch it. So he just tapped both of these security guards. Now they're walking in. Trump pants.
Trump shirts.
Walking in, chilling.
Put hands up. All right, hey, we're here. Got
cell
the phones.
phone. Okay. Another cell phone. Okay.
Got the Trump flags.
All right.
MAGA flags.
Now another cell phone. Funny how all these cell phone footages didn't get out like it should. Another cell phone. Another cell phone. Another cell phone. Another cell phone. You see another cell phone. You see all these cell phones as walking in, and you see down here that they're actually walking in. You got one guy holding the door, like this door was closed. Another guy comes in. He goes and open the door for everybody. They're not trying to break it out. They're not trying to knock it off the hinges or anything like that. They're just walking in. Woo! Wow, this is cool. This is awesome. We are protesting. This is what protesting. We're peacefully protesting. Look at this. Listen, now again, I do not know where this footage came from. I see that it is a TikTok footage. I'm assuming that this is real, but again, I do not know how real this
For the
is.
sake of the channel.
For the sake of the channel, I have to say I don't know. I am not an FBI agent, a CIA agent, or do I work for the
Government.
inspector general, whatever. But we're going to go and read what he does. What Horowitz
I
just
wanted to
did.
say about this before we go to this man's job description,
Okay.
because when they give you the hiring packet and stuff,
Yeah.
they give you a job description. It's a
Yeah.
job description. But I just every time J6 is brought up, it does something to me because of what happened at the Capitol. It does something to me because I remember being in New Jersey at home with our kids, and I begged you before that I felt something.
Yeah.
I felt something. I mean, and it's been heightened since then. I mean, now it's like we could pinpoint it, but back then I just felt something, and I was like, don't go to this one. Because months before that, we did go to Florida. Then we went to Washington. We went to it was a protest, right?
Yeah.
And we have footage. A lot of y'all, I don't know, and many of y'all are still here from 2020, but some are still here. And my husband would go live often, and we were live while we were there in Washington, and it was just this amazing environment and stuff like that. But then they were saying January 6th, we're going back, and I had a bad feeling. And then the team that was around at that time got a place out there, and when we were there, we were like heavily guarded. I'll put it that way. Castro, where you at?
Yeah. He wasn't there on January
No,
6th.
I know. I'm just
Yeah.
live wire.
Yes.
All of y'all, some of y'all, not all of y'all, but y'all
Yeah.
two in particular. Appreciate you. And I was like, don't go. I had a bad feeling. And when y'all got there and you video chatted me, we were talking. I'm like, what's going on? Is everything all right? And before you went, like y'all all had it was a big team, maybe 20 people or so. It was a lot of people. Before y'all went, maybe 10 people. And I had a bad feeling.
Yeah.
And then you were messaging me, I'm on my way back. And the horrific things that happened.
Yeah.
And you're more healed now, and we're on this channel, we're talking about it, but during that time it was traumatic. We couldn't even talk about we couldn't even say the month January for a long time, anything surrounding that, because of the people that are around. There was one man that lost his life that they know.
Yeah.
And still, many haven't.
And we haven't. I personally don't know why
What happened to
what
him?
happened to him. All I know is he was found. I believe it was in a hotel room. He was found.
It was just bad.
Yeah. And it's just villain report is what he went by. And he was one of the individuals that did have a press pass, had a right to be out in the streets, but he wasn't allowed to go out in the streets with what they claim was accessible to people who had press passes. But I was watching him live when he was in the hotel room. Well, not hotel room, but he was in the hotel lobby complaining that he has a press pass, but why he's not allowed to come out. And there were, I don't know if there was police officers or guards, whatever, but they was outside of this hotel, basically making it where the individuals that was in there couldn't leave. They were stuck in that hotel. Now I don't know how long it was for, because he went offline after a certain certain time. And I don't know what happened after that, but he was shooting this live. Maybe we can go to his channel if it's still up and see if it's still there. Villain Report. You can go ahead to his channel. He would Villain Report on YouTube. If it's still there, I don't know. But he did shoot this thing live on January 6th. And there's footage right there that can prove that there was a lockdown in DC. So it was very telling, right? And then you have instigators, people coming out and saying, if you leave, you can't come back. If you leave, you can't come. And they're standing outside of the hotel room, the hotel lobby and stuff. If you leave, you can't come back, because those were the restrictions. If you leave, you can't come back in. So it was very it was stressful. The whole thing. I prefer not to think about it, but this is vital information for us to know because they're holding Trump's legacy and his reputation hostage with this because they won't give us any information to confirm or to dismiss the charges on Trump because of January 6th. And I know why they're doing it. I can only speculate at this point because, again, that will be considered misinformation. But I have a good idea why they're stalling. Because if this was evidence that will incriminate him, they would have had it out faster than you can say, Dad, get rid of Trump.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
And this is why I believe all of a sudden is, oh, well, you know, it was 4 years ago. Then it says, and he said, oh, you know, we paused it because of this other criminal thing, investigations or whatever was going on. We don't, that they can't interfere. And then they paused it. They picked it back up last year. This is 2024 right now. They picked it back up last year. There, he's asking him very valid questions for his job description.
Yes.
And everything is, I don't know. I can't talk about it. I don't know. I don't know. Like, come on.
It's nuts. It's nuts. And again, this is like he said in the previous video that we just watched, the hush money video. This is the punishment for trying to get to the truth.
Yes.
This is the punishment. They have set it up where it's a minimum of 7 years of constant back and forth to get the truth. When I was listening to a lawyer say, I don't care about the truth, I care about what you can prove. And when I heard the lawyer say that, I lost all respect for every lawyer because of that. Because it's like, so let me get this straight. You don't care about the truth, which is the only thing that will set you free from any of this. But because you are running around, and I get why they're doing it. You know, like you have to give them the benefit of the doubt. If you have a, you know, beyond a reasonable doubt, that's the reason why you're guilty, blah, 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 blah. And I understand that because basically what we're saying is that we don't want any innocent people going to jail. Unfortunately, far too many innocent people are going to jail because they don't have the money to go through this process. They're pleading guilty to charges so they can get lesser sentencing so they can get out of this thing faster. That's the reason why when a whole bunch of people saying, well, what's the big deal with Kamala locking up so many men? Is the answer is because once they have a federal charge and once they have a federal record, they're no longer allowed to vote. They lose their ability to have a say in the election. Okay, so having it be a federal offense is a problem, especially when it comes down to something that's now legal. So we really need to clean these laws up. We got to clean this stuff up, and we got to clean up out the House of Representatives. We got to clean up our Senate. We have to clean out the White House. We got to clean up everything.
Yes,
because it is a cesspool at this point.
That's I was just during the debate. And when Trump, I was like, he's right. Trump was like, so you've been here all this time, this whole time you've been in office, you didn't fire nobody.
Not one person. All these mistakes.
Why are you keeping them in here?
All these errors. All these.
To look at that kind of stuff.
Miscommunications. You got people going to jail for years and being shown to be innocent. And all they get is a slap on the ribs. Oh, well, we made a mistake. Well, back then, fast forward, we got people still trying to get people on things they did. Let's just read this thing. I can go all day.
Okay. So this is this gentleman that kept with, I don't know if this is his job description. The Office of Inspector General. The Office of Inspector General, OIG, is an independent organization within the Federal Trade Commission, the FTC, charged with protecting the integrity of agency programs and operations. We strive to ensure that the FTC is carrying out its mission to protect consumers and maintain competition in the most effective and efficient manner. The purpose of this memo is to inform you about our office and of the important role each of you play in alerting the OIG of suspected wrongdoing and assisting us with our work, who we are, and what we do. The FTC OIG is an independent office established pursuant to the Inspector General Act of 1978 as amended. Our function is to prevent and detect fraud, waste, abuse, misconduct, and mismanagement in the government, and to promote economy, efficiency, and effectiveness in our agency's operations and programs. That's their job description. The OIG accomplishes its work through audits, evaluations, and investigations conducted by our professional staff of auditors, program analysts, investigators, attorneys, and other personnel. While we have a unique role, we have a shared responsibility with the rest of the agency to advance the FTC's important mission. OIG auditors perform objective audits, evaluations, and reviews of FTC programs and activities to determine whether these programs are achieving their intended results and to identify ways to improve performance and management in the future. In performing audits and evaluations, we analyze and verify agency records, obtain information through interviews and questionnaires, and conduct physical inspections. Our office is committed to giving full consideration to management's views as part of the processes. We keep agency management informed of emerging findings and allow managers to comment on our draft reports and propose recommendations. At the completion of an announced assignment, the OIG issues a final report, which we provide to the FTC chairperson and commissioners and other management officials. Our audit and evaluation reports are available to the public. Our office also investigates allegations of fraud, waste, abuse, mismanagement, and misconduct. At the conclusion of an investigation, our investigators prepare a report of the allegations and findings, some of which may require additional action. Substantiated allegations of criminal activities are referred to the Department of Justice for potential criminal prosecution or civil remedies. If allegations of administrative misconduct are found, the OIG forwards the matter to the management for potential action. When our investigations reveal systemic or policy concerns, we issue management advisories with recommendations to address these issues. Our reports on investigations are generally not made public. Makes sense why they haven't released it yet.
Mm-hmm.
The OIG keeps the FTC leadership in Congress fully informed about weaknesses and deficiencies identified through our oversight work and makes recommendations to improve the FTC's economy, efficiency, and effectiveness. We also provide a semi-annual report to Congress describing our current audits, investigations, evaluations, and other activities, as well as the status of unimplemented recommendations.
Now, if you want to watch, you want to read the rest of this, it's right here for your convenience. I will put a link in the description for you as well. Before we continue, thank you for being a viewer. If you can support the channel through any means, you can, whether you buying merch. We have merch. We have more merch coming. Actually,
Yes,
we're about to set up our shop to give t-shirt designs and so on and so forth. Right now we have a mug that my son designed.
Yes.
And we have a mouse pad that my son designed that you can go ahead and help support the channel with. I really would appreciate that. Also, links will be in the description. If you don't want to buy a mug or a mouse pad and you do want to still donate, you can do so through CashApp, PayPal. Hell, you can even do that with a super sticker. You can do that with super chats, whatever way you want to do it. We got all those links in the description.
We're working on a PO box, and everybody want to do online electronic stuff, and I understand. We're working on it.
We're working on that too.
Right,
we're working on that too. So we're getting all that stuff in order for you guys to donate to help support the channel and keep us going, because even though we're monetized, YouTube ad revenue is not that much. It's not that much at all. You have to get like hundreds of thousands of views in order to even make a dent in regular bills. And believe me, this stuff ain't cheap. You know what I mean? Canva, CapCut, all these services that I'm using in order to get these videos out there, they cost money. So if you can support, that will be a blessing. Thank you.
Thank you.
But what I wanted to say before we went to the next step of this is you can't blame this office for what the feds, CIA, or whomever is holding the information up with this investigation, you can't get mad at them, because truth be told, they're here to look at their reports.
Yeah.
So he can't move until there's a report to move on.
Mhm.
Right.
Mhm.
So they're stalling the reports.
Yes, that's the
And I
thing.
think the reason why is because they know if this information gets out, they might sway the voters that would have voted for Kamala to now vote for Trump or not vote at all.
Sound familiar?
Yes.
It happened already.
Yes. So right now they're struggling. They're trying to hold on to every little thing they possibly can. And I think this is what I think. I think Kamala don't give a rat's behind whether she wins or lose. She's got her money already. Okay. She's got her money. She is rich. She's richer than rich right now. All right. Melinda
Gates.
yeah, was it Melinda Gates?
Gates' ex-wife.
Yes, Melinda Gates gave her $52 million for her campaign. I don't think she spent all that on the campaign. I'm just saying. So there is a plethora of donors who have money, by the way, to give to Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. So when it comes down to the financial part, she's good. She don't care. I just don't believe she cares. Borders wide open. We're having all these problems. As a matter of fact, while we're talking about the borders being wide open, let's go ahead and hear what Trump had to say about the open borders and what Kamala has done to our country.
She can't possibly
thus
care. You can't tell me this
far.
woman cares. That you can't tell me any of them care.
He's trying to say, we're working very hard to make it comfortable for them. And he's trying to say, we're working very hard to make it comfortable for them. No, those people have to be taken out and brought back to the country from where they came. I'm
Come
sorry.
on. Yes. Gotta go. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Gotta go.
The mayor said, we're looking for interpreters. It's so hard to find interpreters because nobody speaks English, right? So we're looking for interpreters. No. You're looking for people that will remove them and bring them back safely to their country. It's not fair. It's not sustainable by any country. What's happening to us in the United States? Millions and millions of people, 21 million plus, have been dumped into the United States, and many of them are murderers. Many of them are horrible criminals. What Kamala Harris has done is unforgivable. It's a crime what she did. It's got to be criminal.
Now, before I continue, I did a poll in my community tab asking, should women and children be deported as well? And I'm gonna bring that up here so you can see it, but I'm also going to be putting a poll up right now for those who did not get to vote on that poll to vote on this right now. Should we deport women and children as well? Because that question came up in the vice president debate with Vance and Walz. And I would like to know what the people feel about that.
There's no greater act of disloyalty than to extinguish the sovereignty of your own nation, and that's what she's done.
Yes.
She's ruined our nation. She's ruined our nation. And I've always talked about this, and I've talked about it strongly, but I'm just realizing as I'm talking right now, and not even going off a teleprompter, because the teleprompter is not tough enough. I'm saying, and by the way, isn't it nice to have a president that doesn't need a teleprompter?
Yes, because you think on your feet. You don't need handlers. You don't need people to tell you what the right answer is.
Right.
You just come off the top of your head. Right. You don't need that. You just come off the top of your head. And this is important. This is vital for the head of any organization to be able to come off the top of their head, because they either know the information or can give an educated answer for what information was given. Yes. So that's why it's very important that we do have a president that can go off script and still keep his audience without needing the script.
But I've never had, thank you. Boy, what a group of people we have. It's a joke. We're laughed at all over the world for our leadership.
I believe
But
you.
I just got this information, so I've never really spoken about this because this is the first time we have these numbers with 13,000 convicted, jailed murderers, tougher than any of our criminals. We have only one good thing about this, is they make our criminals look like very nice people. These are hardened, horrible criminals, and we have to get them the hell out of our country because they've ruined, they're ruining the fabric of our country.
Yes.
Kamala is directly responsible for the tens of thousands of crimes committed by illegal migrants that she set free into our country. They didn't ask for a name. They didn't ask for a registration number. And many of them don't even have names or registration numbers. They just pour into our country. She has no idea where they're from parts unknown. She's responsible for every bloody crime scene, every funeral,
Yes.
every orphan
Oh
child.
my God.
And the great Mark Levin called me a little while ago and said, ask them, because he couldn't believe the numbers either. He said, ask them to ask Kamala, has she ever attended one funeral of the thousands and thousands of people that they've already killed? So I ask you that question.
No.
I give that to the fake news.
This question is for the Angel Moms. First, I want to extend my deepest sympathies and thank you for coming on the call today. I have a question that may have a follow-up. Have you heard from Kamala Harris in a phone call, email, or visit since the death of your children?
No. No. Not a single response from her.
What are your thoughts on deporting women and children who are illegally in our country?
If you are illegal in our country, I personally, after watching Riley Lakin and all the people that have lost their lives directly due to migrants that were brought here under the Harris Biden administration, they are directly a result of that. I don't care if you're a woman, a child, a man, or dog, a gerbil, a cat. If you are here illegally, you need to go.
I feel the same way.
I'm sorry, you gotta go.
And this is not about compassion. This is about taking care of our country first.
Yes.
You know, we don't want our country to end up like the country you're leaving.
Right. I was thinking that.
You know, and you flooding our country, running away from their country is
Making
causing our country
like
to
y'all.
buckle.
Yes.
Because the safety nets, the financial safety nets that was designed for Americans like me and my wife who had our identity stolen. This is what the safety net is designed to do, to catch people like us. Yes. Not to support people who were illegally brought in here. Now, granted,
And give housing and food, and it wasn't for y'all.
I understand how a lot of people saying, but.
Sorry.
I understand that. And I have an answer for you. Open your doors and bring one of these individuals or one of these families into your home. You support them directly if you feel that way. I don't believe we're going to let you off without that kind of generosity. If you want to be generous, do it your own. That's the reason why we have charities. That's why we have these things. But before we start taking in people that are illegally in here, how about we clean up the homeless off the streets
That's
of New
already
York?
here, that
How do
are
we
born
clean up
here.
the homeless from the streets of Chicago, the streets of Oklahoma, the streets of Tulsa, California? How don't we clean up our streets first? Take care of the mental issues in our country first.
How about we take care of our vets? All of that money that
How
went
about
to
we
them,
talk?
it should be going to our vets. Y'all got a lot of nerve.
There is
this,
so
administration.
much disrespect here when it comes down to people inheriting things they didn't have to work for. That's why I understand a lot of millionaires saying, I'm not giving my children a dime because they don't deserve it. They don't deserve it. They're spoiled brats. I was listening to one guy, I forget his name, but he's a really, really hard man. And he talked to his audience like crap. He calls them snowflakes. He calls them saying, in my day, we would have did this, that, and the third. Like literally, he does that. Like in my day, we would have ate you for breakfast and so on and so forth. And I'm with him. Fast forward, he's on, I think he was on the Joe Rogan show, telling Joe Rogan that he's disappointed in his kids. Wait a minute, you the hard butt that's telling you can teach other people, but you can't teach your own kids. But that's what happens, right? You forget about your first love and you go out there and you run for the accolades and the prestige because it's all about you at this point. And you realize that when it's too late, because you was a great businessman, horrible parent. Because if you weren't a horrible parent, your children should be the men and women that you thought they should be. And again, there are some levels to it, but at the end of the day, we do have a problem with giving things to people who did not earn or deserve it. And this is what we will be doing if we allow illegals to stay here after Trump gets into office. We're telling the whole world, come right in. We're telling the whole world to come right in, and they can just suck our country dry. And who's going to compete against these people? Who's going to stop it? Who's going to stop it? The men that's in the streets. And the men in the streets may not have the love for this country the way they used to, right? Because you have men that will allow a woman to be raped on a train.
That's what's happening.
And do nothing. They'll go into another cart. They won't do anything. So if you're starting to see men doing this with regular women that are American women, imagine if there's a real hardened criminal, like Trump said, comes into your city or your town or your state, and the men are just starting to turn their head and say, I don't see nothing. But why? But why? Well, because you inherited a weakened, disrespected, just depressed man because of all the years of telling him that he's nothing.
You don't need him.
He's not needed. He's no good. You don't make enough money. You're not stoic enough. You're not alpha enough. You're not, and you keep saying this to a man, and then they just say, skip it. No matter what I do, it doesn't matter. So I'm going to just do whatever I want to do, which is usually play video games and just be to myself, ghosting, joining whatever the MGTOW, whatever you want to call them, or passport bros, whatever. And they don't care. They're being just as selfish as America has been. So now you have these new rivals where men who used to love this country would never have I'll just get a passport and go to another country. And that's what a lot of men have been doing for the last X amount of years now. So you can't demonize one sex and then be surprised when that sex decides they're not going to help. You can't do that. Like what? But what about the men? What about the men? Well, who cares about the men? You don't care about the men. What do you care about the men now for? Because you're going to need men to clean up the streets. Yes, you want to need the men to clean up the streets. But guess what? You demonize them so hard. Hush money here, freaking lawsuit here, take their kids there. You know what I'm saying? So now you got a bunch of men that are just saying, screw you, get what you get. And I pray to God that God raise up a standard of men who can look past that and realize that this was nothing more than indoctrination and brainwashing of our nation. Because when you realize that this was all a ploy to weaken the country so they can take it over, you can wake up and say, you know what? Yeah, Amy may have done that to me, and Charmaine may have done that to me, and Michael may have done that to me, and John might have done that to me. But what does that got to do with me cleaning up my act? Right? We have to put it back on ourselves. If we're going to clean up our act, if we're going to clean up our country, we have to clean up ourselves first. Root out all the corruption within yourself first. Stop being corrupted in your own actions, and you'll start seeing it illuminate through other people. It will ripple through your family, because they'll start, I don't do that anymore. I remember when you used to. I don't do that anymore.
Well, I don't now.
I don't do that anymore. That was the old me. I don't do that anymore. So if you want to be in my life, then you're going to have to accept that. And if you don't want to be in my life, that's okay. I'm still a phone call away, but I don't do that anymore. And when you start cleaning up your life, people will have to either take it or leave it, but you're cleaning up your life. So I think that's it for this. You have any final thoughts you want to say about this?
I just wanted to say I love that, by the way. It reminded me of what RFK Jr. said in the other video that we had, the premiere, when you talked about corruption. And he said that the country, the government, the country is corrupt because the individuals are corrupt.
Yep.
So we deal with our own issues first, then that will affect everything else around us. And I want to speak to the point of everything they talk about Trump and this and that and the person. You know, we all have a life, we all have a story, we all have bones, we all have a past. And Trump is no exception. All of us do. Kamala does. Everybody does. But and I don't usually, but I'm led to say this. And there's a scripture that says, when I was a child, I spoke as a child, I reasoned as a child. But when I became a man, I put away those childish things. And that has everything to do with maturity, with wisdom, and with accountability. That's for men and with women. And so if we are able to self-govern, then this country will not be, is what President Trump just said, under the Biden-Harris administration, a country that has been extinguished. The morality of this country has been extinguished, and we're trying. That is what we want to do in making America great again.
Yes.
We want to bring that back.
Right. It's not about money anymore. It stopped being about money in 2020. It started being about America in 2020 for many Americans, because yes, it's painful to have your business closed down because of a ploy or some type of plan or whatever you want to. That's painful. But what's more painful is allowing it to continue because you're afraid to do anything. I don't want to fall under that. I was trying to run from this. I'm going to tell the truth. I tried to run from this. I really did. I was like, I don't want to do this. I saw what happened to people that really stood up. They get forgotten quick. And I didn't want to be one of those people. But I said, you know what? If they're willing to shoot at Trump, they're willing to shoot at me. And if they're willing to shoot at me, they're willing to shoot at my wife. And if they're willing to shoot at my wife, I'm willing to shoot back. So that's where I started to stand up, because I was joining the bandwagon. Screw women, screw this. I ain't dealing with this. You want feminism, go get it. You know what I'm saying? Walking around seeing shirts on young girls saying throw rocks at boys and stuff like that. You know, I'm looking at this stuff like, and you're going to tell a little girl that? You're going to put that on a little girl? Really? But you see that in your neck of the woods, and then you realize, oh, it's just a ploy. It's a ploy. It's a brainwashing. And the only way to fight that is by telling your truth to them about that. Tell them why that's wrong. Tell them why you feel like this is wrong. Don't be afraid to tell your version of it, your side of it, because somewhere in the middle, we're going to find the real answer, right? Somewhere, because women ain't these weaklings. We know that.
Absolutely not.
But women shouldn't be getting kicked in the face by no man either. You see what I'm saying? Like, we shouldn't be having that. We shouldn't have men punching women in the face, calling themselves transgender. There's no such thing as a transgender woman. It's just a man that's really screwed up in the head. And I'll say that again. It's just a man screwed up in the head. Okay? Stop with this. Men bleed too. And you sitting on a bench with your freaking in jeans with a beard and you bleeding all over the place. That's disgusting. We're stopping all that noise, period.
There's an order for a reason.
But we got to clean up the foolishness. We got to clean up the mess. And guys, we knew we was going to be the ones that's going to have to clean this up. We knew this from jump. It's time to grab your broom, grab your dustpan, grab your overalls, grab your tool belt, and let's get to work. Amen. So let's go to the live. Thank you for watching the premiere. If you can donate, please do so. I'm ending the poll right now so we can see who what the poll came out to. But we're going to be redirecting you to the live right now.